Preventing rental fraud starts with recognizing the warning signs. Don't let this happen to you.
Let's be real for a second. Being a landlord in Philadelphia right now, it's like walking through a minefield. You're not just looking for tenants anymore, you're trying to protect your entire investment from threats you probably don't even see coming. So let's get into your guide for fighting back.
Okay, imagine this. What if 85% of the people who walk through your door were actively trying to scam you? It sounds completely insane, right? Well, get this. A recent industry report found that a staggering 85% of landlords have been hit by rental fraud. This isn't some small problem, you guys. It's an epidemic.
So the big question is, how do you even begin to fight back? Well, we've laid this out like a battle plan. First, we're going to identify the two fronts you're actually fighting on. Then we'll take a look at the modern fraudster, and we're also going to uncover the hidden regulatory traps that can absolutely sink your business. We'll explore how technology is a double-edged sword, both a weapon and a weakness. And finally, we'll give you a solid, two-layered defense plan to protect everything you've worked for.
To make it in Philly's rental market, you have to understand that you're fighting a war on two fronts. Seriously. The first is obvious. It's the enemy at the gates, the criminal applicant. But the second threat, and you know, this one might actually be more dangerous, is the enemy within. We're talking about the fatal flaws in your own screening process.
This whole situation creates what's called asymmetric risk. Think about it. You, the landlord, you stand to lose thousands, tens of thousands, from property damage, months of unpaid rent, and these just crippling government fines. And the fraudster? What do they risk? Almost nothing. That huge imbalance is exactly why you need a defense that is absolutely rock solid.
All right, let's start with that enemy at the gates, the modern fraudster. And I want you to forget everything you think you know about old-school scam artists. This is not some guy with a bad toupee. We are talking about sophisticated, tech-savvy criminals who want to turn your property into their personal piggy bank.
Today's fraudsters are using AI to generate fake pay stubs that are so perfect they could fool a forensic accountant. No joke. They're also into high-tech squatting, and they use these really clever financial tricks, like the overpayment scam, to steal your money before they even get the keys.
And, you know, it can happen so easily. Here's how it works. The scammer sends you a fake check, but it's for more than the deposit. Then they make up some crazy emergency, begging you to wire back the extra money right away. Now you look at your bank account and the funds show up as available, so you think, okay, no problem, and you send the money. A few days later, that original check bounces, and your money, it's just gone. Forever.
But here's the twist. What if I told you that the most dangerous threat isn't the criminal trying to get in, but the one hiding in your own files? That is the absolute reality of regulatory traps in Philadelphia. A single mistake, one little slip-up in compliance, can cost you way more than a dozen bad tenants combined.
Look, criminal fraud, it's like a punch to the gut. It hurts. But regulatory fraud, that's a knockout blow. One is about losing rent for a few months. The other is about losing your entire business. That's why getting your compliance dialed in is completely non-negotiable. $2,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. What do you think that represents? That is the fine you are looking at under Philadelphia's Renters Access Act for every single mistake you make in your screening process. Deny someone just because of their credit score? That's $2,000. Look at an eviction record that's too old? Bam, another $2,000. You can see just how fast this can spiral into a financial nightmare.
So with all these regulatory minefields, you're probably thinking, okay, I'll just use technology to screen everyone. Well, that's where things get tricky, because that creates a whole new paradox. See, artificial intelligence is now both the arsonist and the firefighter in this whole world of rental fraud.
And here is the ultimate catch-22. You absolutely need AI to spot the super realistic fakes that other AIs are creating. But, and this is a huge but, if you use some generic, out-of-the-box screening tool, it might be using criteria that are totally illegal here in Philly. So the very technology you're using as a shield could end up being the weapon that takes you down.
So, after all that doom and gloom, how do you actually win this war? You can, and it's with a smart, two-layered defense plan. It is time to build your fortress. Layer 1 is the foundation of everything. It's your mandatory compliance firewall. Before you even think about catching criminals, you have to eliminate the risk of shooting yourself in the foot with a ridiculously expensive regulatory mistake.
Okay, think of this slide right here as your compliance cheat sheet.
Under Philly law, you can only look at the last 4 years of eviction records, period. You can't deny an applicant just because they have a low credit score. You have to ban the box, meaning no criminal history questions on the first application. And of course, if your licenses aren't up to date, you can't even legally collect rent. Master these 4 rules, and you've just built your firewall.
All right, once that firewall is up and secure, now it's time to go on the offensive. Layer 2 is all about actively hunting down and stopping these sophisticated criminals before they ever get a foothold in your property.
This right here, this is your arsenal. Use AI-powered document verification to spot the fakes. Don't just accept pay stubs. Demand bank statements to confirm income. Refuse all those shady payments like cash, Venmo, or wire transfers for initial funds. And finally, enroll in the city's deed fraud protection program. It's free, and it helps lock down your property's title. These are the tools that will keep you safe.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. In this age of AI, what's really the greatest risk to your property? Is it the criminal out there with a keyboard, or is it that unchecked box on your own compliance checklist? Because in today's market, the answer to that question will absolutely determine whether you sink or swim.
Feeling lost? Let reallandlording.com navigate your rental business.